Assalamu alaikum everybody. My name is Mariam Aftab and with me
is Muhammad Hassan Abbasi, and today the topic of our workshop is exploring intercultural communication in English language classrooms. So we are going to explore how we can introduce different elements of intercultural communication. But before you begin teaching about intercultural communication, it is highly important that you have a warm-up activity. In that warm-up activity, what you are going to do is you're going to show different pictures, events, celebrations, numbers, and let your audience guess that from which particular aspects of the culture or from which part of the culture or which country's culture it belongs to. So we have an activity for you and on the word wall in which we are going to spin a wheel and we are going to ask you that from which culture does it actually belongs to. We have different numbers. So let the audience select one particular number. So Miss Mariam, can you help me in picking one number as per the audience messages in the chat box? So which number we have at first?
okay, we're gonna pick number 6.
Okay, so we have number 6. So let's see what do we have in number 6? 4th of July. So what do you think? What do we have on the 4th of July? Is it an Independence Day? Is it a New Year's Day? Is it a resolution day? What do you think? What do you think, Miss Mariam, what day it is?
I think it's connected with the independence of USA.
Okay, so yeah, it's an Independence Day of US. Similarly, we have 5th of July. That is also an Independence Day of Venezuela as well. So you can pick such dates and then introduce different aspects of culture. Let's see, what do we have in the next number? So Miss Mariam, can we have another number from your side?
Yeah, it's gonna be number 7.
So let's see, what do we have in number 5? It's 786. What does this number stands for? Does it have a cultural, religious? What meanings do we have? Of course, it's very easy for all of us. Miss Mariam, can you guess what it is?
It's connected with our religious aspect, in which it means Bismillah Rahman Rahim.
Okay, so you can also introduce this aspect in your cultural warm-up activity. We'll take one more number and then we'll move on to the next activity. Ms. Mariam, can we have another number, please?
Yeah, I'm gonna pick number 1 now.
Okay, so let's see, what do we have in number 1? Okay, so we have this historical site structure. What do you think from which culture it actually belongs to, right? Something that is ancient, something that is belonging to an civilization. Miss Mariam, what do you think? What this picture represent? Which culture does it represent?
It represents Egypt culture, and it's the pyramids where they keep the mummies.
Okay, perfect. So Miss Mariam have guessed all the 3 right, and you can all introduce this warm up based on the culture you are introducing in your classroom. Remember that you have to activate the schematic knowledge of your student about different cultures. You can pick national heroes, you can pick national sites, you can pick geographical locations as well, just to introduce about the cultural aspects.
Okay, now before moving on towards different activities, we need to first think about it, that why do we need to integrate intercultural activities in our language classrooms? In our language classrooms means that in Pakistani context, when one always think about it, that why there is a need of intercultural activities in Pakistan, where there is not that much interaction with the global community, because we do not have the international students over here, either in middle school, high school, college, or universities, right? But the simple answer for this is that it's because of globalization. So yes, we are living in the globalized world, and we cannot ignore this international culture anymore. Okay, we cannot make our students away from there because it's somehow they are connecting with it through the television, through the literature, through even their books, because it's all globalized and we all are using English language for our communication. So globalization is the answer for that, because that's the reason that we need to integrate such activities in our English language classrooms. Apart from that, it is also useful to give our students an opportunity to learn the culture of other countries. It's always make them full of knowledge, and it's good for them in case they have to communicate with the international community, either in person or online virtually. Also, we see that it's very crucial and important to spread the awareness and tolerance about different cultures of the world to our students, and our English language classroom are the best place to do that. Apart from it, we can also use such activities of intercultural communication competence to make our students think reflectively and make them do the critical analysis of the different culture by making them compare and contrast the local culture with their international culture. Moreover, we can always make them see the beauty of the world's culture and linguistic diversity, and we can make them realize that how diversified and beautiful our world is linguistically and culturally as well.
Now that we know that how to integrate intercultural communication in our classroom, as teachers, we always need resources that we need to use in our English language classrooms. So where do we get these resources from? Of course, most of you know that we have American English website where we can get most of the sources. So internet, in this globalized world, we have internet, everything is easily available, just a click away, and you just click it and you just get the data. Also, you can use movies, serials, clips, short clips to teach about different aspects of culture. We have also magazines. Students often read that. We have different aspects of culture represented in those magazines. We have also English language forum where we have different articles as well and lessons as well, which you can integrate into your classrooms while teaching intercultural communication. Newspaper, a great source of teaching intercultural communication is newspaper, where you have those small headlines and you can teach. Now, we have also literature, the folk tales that only exist in the audio form. You can also use that folk tales in one of your classrooms to teach about literature. And you can use it for reading purposes and for writing purposes. And you can have a reading race in your classroom as well. Then we have lots of material, as I already said, on American English website, and there are other cultural websites where you will find a lot of material available to teach intercultural communication. But one very important aspect that we are going to talk about further in this workshop is virtual exchanges. How important these virtual exchanges are in knowing about intercultural communication and in knowing about people from other culture as well.
All
So over to
right.
you, Miss Mariam.
All right, so let's begin with our first activity that you can introduce and you can incorporate in your language classroom. So that is that the food custom. So you know that in different culture, we have different tradition of the food. Okay, like what are the habit of the people while they are eating food? Okay, so you can always use this activity in for reading, for improving the reading skills, for speaking and writing. And let's see that how you can do that. So you can always make them read about the different food customs from the different part of the world and make them find the similarity and the difference with their local food customs. All right, so let's explore a few of the food customs from the different part of the world, and let's see that how you can do this. Okay, so the first food custom is about the Thailand, where they are very specific about the use of utensils. Okay, so they use a spoon and the fork in their eating during eating of their meals, but they are very specific about the use of the fork. All right, so yes. Hassan, can you please find any comparison on similarity of the Thailand food custom in our local context?
Like we use like it's considered offensive in their culture to use fork or to put up the fork into your mouth, but we use most of the food, or we consume most of the food by using the fork as well, so it's not considered that much rude in our culture. uh, so yeah, and in most of the formal context, it's used to have a formal dinner as well. And in, for example, in the armed forces, they are taught how to eat formally as well. So we use it in a very different context.
Yeah, and also in our food custom, we also use our hands more than the utensils of the spoon and the fork. All right, let's move on towards one more country, and it's Japan. Now, see, in Japan, what happened is slurping. So over there, slurping is a habit which is very acceptable over there, and it's considered that exhibits positivity over here. So when they slurp food, especially the noodles and the soup, it is considered, and that shows that they really enjoy the food and it improves the flavor of the country. But I think this is something which is not considered that much acceptable in our culture, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. So it's not that much acceptable in our culture.
Yeah. It mostly considered ill-mannered when you do that in while sitting on the feast in our culture. All right.
Yeah,
Moving on.
and everybody makes fun of you as well when you make the noises. So it's
Yeah.
considered funny and stereotypical as well.
Yeah, indeed. All right. So let's see what's happening in Italy. So yes, so in Italy, that they consider it like a disease over there, that if they are mixing the cheese with the seafood. I think this is something which is very much similar in our local food custom as well, because we also don't usually mix cheese with the seafood in our context as well. So this is something which is very similar to our culture. Moving on
Yeah,
towards,
because
moving
we don't
on,
mix things like them as well.
yes. So moving towards South Korea. Now in South Korea, they usually wait for the eldest person of their family to eat the food first. And this shows that they have this shows their respect towards the elders. So do you find?
Yeah. And let me tell you all that it also happens in Pakistan's local culture as well. Like one of my friend told me that they do not consume the food before the elder ones in their family eat it. And that's Brusheski culture, where people in the family do not consume the food before elders eat it. But it varies from culture to culture. So what you all can do is you can also bring food in your local classrooms as well, and ask your students to bring the local famous food. Like we have khausa, we have Sindhi biryani. So you can also teach that at the local level as well. And you can also ask your students to make the foreign food, then bring in the classroom to have more awareness about intercultural communication. What do you think, Ms. Mariam, about this idea?
Yeah, it's really interesting, and students are going to love this thing, by the way. All right. So moving on, this is the few of the food customs that I have shown you over here. Now, what you can do is that how you can explore this food custom element in your classroom is that you can intermingle that with the reading. You can make the students sit in the group and make them read about the food customs. They can discuss and they can always talk about it, and they can also come and present the food, the similarity and the complete analysis in front of the class as well. So you can integrate reading and speaking and also writing the skills in this particular activity of food custom. All right. So let's move on towards another activity, that is the hand gestures. Now, you know that hand gestures are something which play a very crucial role in the communication in any region of the world, right? And but the interesting part over here is that we might have the similar hand gestures, but the meaning that those hand gestures convey is very different in the different regions. Okay, so you can make your students explore that different meaning of the hand gestures by showing them the hand gestures and making them research about that. Okay, so one idea about the hand gesture activity is over here, which I'm going to share with you, is through the Padlet link. Okay, so you can prepare a wall in which you can come up with the different hand gestures, and you can also give the guideline to your students on which countries and do these gestures are used, and they have a different significance, the significant meaning in these regions. All right, so they can always research about that, and then they can share what they have found out on the Padlet link.
Yeah, it's more like you're learning a sign language as well, and that can be used for different context as well. So yeah, we have different gestures here that you can see on your screen. Hand gesture 1, hand gesture 2, 3, 4, and 5. And all of these hand gestures have different meanings in different cultures.
All right, so this is always good for the research work, for the reflective thinking, and to just increase and make them aware of how diversified our world is in terms of the culture. Okay, now the next thing is that you must have seen that in different culture, we have the different way to deal with the things which we are encountering in our daily life, right? So you must have seen that on the YouTube or on the Instagram meme as well, that they have divided the world into the East and the West, that how the people in the East behave and how the people in the West behave, right? But it's not always East and West. We do have the different norms, the different way to deal with things, even within the same culture, even within within the same country, and even within the same part of the region. All right, we might have different way to deal with the late guest arrival. If someone is occupying this sitting space, if you are visiting the patient, and if you are breaking utensils by mistake, and a lot of other things. Okay, every culture has different way to deal with these things in their daily life. So this element you can also use in your intercultural communication activity. As we told you earlier about the resource, that you can always use the movie clips and the serial clips, because you know that the movie and the series are from the different part of the world. So you can always use them as a resource to make your students exposed to the different culture and their daily life encounter. So you can show them the clips, and you can make them think how they must have done and what they have done in situation like this. So I'm going to show you some clips. This is from the very, very famous American sitcom Friends. I have taken some clip from there. I'm going to show it to you people, and then you can see that how you can use this thing in your classroom as well by making them think. Okay, so this is a clip in which someone is occupying the seat. This is a scenario. Now you can see that, and then you can ask the students that how they must have dealt in such situations. So let's see the video, and then we can move forward to get the feedback from our co-presenter.
Because I was sitting when you left. But it's not like I went to Spain. I went to the bathroom. You knew I was coming back. What's the big deal? Sit somewhere else. The big deal is I was sitting there last. So, let's see. Actually, the last place you sit was in there. Guys, you know what? Because both have to go to the rest because the big bang in my head pops. So, all right.
All right.
Yeah, so what actually happens is when somebody occupies your seat, how do we react? How do we behave when somebody occupies our seat? Of course, we do not occupy someone's seat who is administratively and professionally more above than us in the rank, but what happens when somebody occupies your seat? How do you make them stand from the seat? So how do you do it, Ms. Mariam, if someone occupies your seat?
Okay, I want to just make them realize over here that you can see that in their culture, it's not, they do not consider it acceptable even in the informal setting to get physical. So there's no touching over here. He's just using the oral communication to ask him to leave the seat, okay? But in our culture, what happens is that we go physical, okay? It's informal setting. We just usually grab the hand and we make them push. This is my seat. Even within the siblings, we do that.
Yeah, we actually push the person. If he's not getting up from the seat, we'll drag him so that he can move away from the seat. We're so possessive about it that we'll indulge in a physical action. So that's one of the way how you can learn about a culture using a movie clip. And it's all famous. It's a movie clip from Friends. We have all seen it and it's quite famous. So we can use it to teach about intercultural communication as well. We have another clip and that is also quite common in our society as well. Let's see how you would have reacted in such a situation. So let's watch the video.
All right. So, so see what's happening over here is that there are three friends who are trying to, there's one, obviously one is a mother and another are the friends. So what is common in our culture is that we directly blame to the mother that, okay, it's your child, even you don't have a guts to control your kid. So we start blaming them. See, they're also frustrated, but they're not blaming. They're not playing the blame games over here. They're trying to be helpful and they're trying to be there and they're trying not to take part, but they're not blaming us. So in our culture, we directly go to blame, okay, fine, it's your kids, you cannot even cater. So we go towards that. Yeah, you want to add something?
Yeah, or we roam with the baby, trying to console her or trying to play with him or her and trying to engage him so that he or she does not cry anymore. But that really happens. We give it back to the mother.
Yeah, that okay, you control, it's your baby. And you go with the songs, you go with the terrible songs, you know?
Yeah, and these days we hand over the mobile phone. We just hand over the mobile phone and they just listen to the songs. And so yeah, these are different cultural aspects and very common in different societies and in foreign cultures as well. Moving on, we can of course add a lot of content in it depending upon how an individual and how an culture would differ from person to person. But the most important part of this workshop is international virtual exchanges, and we'll guide you how through our experience you can also have such international exchanges as well. But for that, we need to know what is an exchange at first. Uh, Basically, in an exchange, we are exposing the learners to a different culture. We are using an interaction. We are getting engaged in an interaction. So we are communicating with the people around the world just to know about their different cultural aspects. We have a Facebook page, American English. We have also English Access Program headquarters page, where each month they post different activities, they ask about different responses, and they share about different rituals, lifestyles, and how you can teach the cultural aspects as well. But the question is how to get started with a virtual exchange, how to find those foreign speakers. Of course, we are going to have a virtual exchange, but you always need to initiate the communication. I've given you one link, that is Access Program headquarter page, where you can interact with people, and trust me, they are the best in interaction. They would respond to you, they would respond to even your comment as well. Okay, so you can interact with them. Maybe you can privately message them. Secondly, English Access Micro Scholarship program has a pen pal session as well, where they interact with different speakers from around the world, and they actually organize those sessions. So we had such opportunity as well, where through the pen pal activities, we were connected with so many people around the world. But before you introduce the virtual exchanges, You can always have a code book, some rules that you follow, because cultures are sensitivities that we have to follow, and people are sensitive about that, what kind of information you are sharing with them, and they wanted to know about their culture as well. So remember, be careful with your communication. And we have this habit of having unique names. Remember, use your personal name. Do not have danger girl, do not have unique names which can have a negative impact on your identity as well. Use your right name so that they can pronounce it as well. Make sure you're using the correct non-verbals as well, and you are having a smile on your face as well. And make sure you're not doing anything else, like don't cook in front of them. Okay, of course you cannot do that. Okay, maybe you can have a session prior to the virtual exchange, also with the foreign speaker as well. So we actually wanted to tell you that we actually had different virtual exchange sessions with Egypt, Venezuela, Mauritania, Brazil, USA, Fiji, where we actually had different activities, and we learned so much about their culture, and they learned about a Pakistani culture as well. And one thing that they were learned about that we are very caring and very good deserving nation, and we are very interactive as well. So I'll be guiding you through what did we actually learn from those sessions. We learn about music, food, we learn about lifestyle, we learn about their games. And what's quite interesting that Venezuela and we had quite similar games. Okay, the names were different, but the local games that we play on our streets were quite familiar to their games as well. So here on these pictures, you can see that we have Jim from Argentina, we have Andres from Venezuela, we have other speakers as well that talked about different aspects of their culture as well. And since the virtual pen pal or the virtual exchanges give us an opportunity to exchange and give us an opportunity to celebrate different days and to know about the importance of those days. So we actually celebrated Independence Day, and we all were dressed up for the Independence Day, just like we also celebrated Halloween Day as well. So we are all dressed up as well. Miss Mariam, do you remember how interesting it was to see that the students and the people from both the nations were so dressed up? And you can also see in the pictures as well that how cheerful we are. So can you share, Miss Mariam, how interesting it was?
Yeah, it was really exciting to watch, the international community, and they get really inspired, and we get to introduce a lot of our norms, and it's very exciting to see them celebrating with us, and they are really enthusiastic about that.
And we also get a reflection back of our past as well, where we exchange cards with each other, but this time around in the virtual way. And you can see two cards that Venezuelan students, our friends, we call them friends because they send us these cards to celebrate 14th August, and we send them cards as well on their Independence Day. Remember, the day was 5th of July, 4th of July for America, 5th of July for Venezuela, and 14th of August for Pakistan. And through these pictures, you can see that we had such an amazing day. But learning does not stop here. You can always have other sessions as well, where you can have online English language learning as well. And we were very proud and we were very graceful that we actually had one of the Venezuelan teacher who explained us about comic strips, and he teach us how we can simply use comic strips for English language learning. So we're not learning about culture, but we were learning about language learning through the art as well. And you can see that the tutor, Mike, is teaching us how to have the comic strips to learn English. And then we have a Venezuelan student as well. This does not stop here. We use Padlet to let the students interact with each other as well. So that's how we integrated different ways. We acknowledged the American English page, and then we had those speakers. How did we manage to contact them? Through the WhatsApp, through the email, And trust me, they were the easiest to reach out, more easier than the ones in Pakistan as well. So yes, now we'll let you all hear the reflection that our foreign guest has for all of you and what's their take on our virtual exchanges. So let's get to know about the experiences of virtual exchange by our friends from Venezuela and USA. Yeah, Miss Mariam, it's not audible. Can you unmute?
Hello, everyone. My students and I participated on a couple of and I found it they were able to learn about a new culture.
Miss Mariam, can you increase the volume? It's not that audible.
Are not only they are also scientists and artists. Also that they learned about the differences in religion in Pakistan. They were able to understand that despite the differences, you can communicate and you can share similar values to other cultures or to other people. And I found that quite useful because that way they could be more tolerant and they could have a better approach when discovering something new.
My name is Hassan and I work as an English Language Fellow for the years 2021-2022 for the U.S. Department of State based in Washington, D.C. My last encounter in a program abroad was in Venezuela, where we held cultural diplomacy programs throughout the world with educators and students from Pakistan, Honduras, Fiji, Brazil, Venezuela, and Egypt. Some of the benefits of being in a virtual exchange, it introduces students to an interconnected world by connecting global educators. For example, in 2021, we had the pleasure to celebrate Pakistan Independence Day and share with countries like Venezuela and Egypt, being one of the few conversations we had throughout the year. Cultural exchanges also introduce students to project-based learning and foster cultural appreciation and understanding. Thank you for having me and thank you for your time.
Okay, so these were the two voices of our friends through which we exchange in our virtual exchanges. Now you can all have and you can all try these virtual exchanges as well. This will not only introduce you and your students to different cultural realities, but it would also give them an awareness as well. Because of the time constraints, we had limited topics, but you can also always explore bigger topics as well. So if you have any questions, you can ask us in the comment section. And if you have any question, you can ask us through the mic as well. We had really amazing fun interacting with you about intercultural communication. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. That's all from our side so far.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.